What is up, players? It's Warboss Tay. Up in this mug, I got this Uriziel T'Rakkon figure. I'm going to be doing a series of videos painting him up, but I'm going to break it down so it's not just one giant honking video. We're going to go piece by piece, bit by bit, and in this first video of the series, we're going to be working on this poor Imperial Guardsman right here. Click on the link below in the description. It'll take you right to the ArtTelW Miniatures webpage where you can check out this miniature for yourself. If you are a Drukhari player, Dark Eldar player, if you enjoy that aesthetic, that evil space elf raider aesthetic, I think this is a great model to have in your collection. Even if you don't play with Uriziel T'Rakkon, just having this model, building it up, painting it, it is an amazing figure. Thank you so much to my patrons for supporting Warboss Tay Studios. If you would like to join them and become a patron, then there is a link below in the description which will take you to my Patreon page. This video actually was inspired by just having a little bit of extra time freed up, and I thought I want to give back, do something for my patrons. So we're going to be doing all of these ArtTel miniatures to say thank you for supporting the studio. All right, so this Imperial Guardsman, what is there to say about him? I'm going to be painting him up in my Cadian Shock Troopers color scheme, and what I always start with is the skin. Choosing the skin tone is it goes a long way to seeing what the character is going to be like, what kind of colors we want to use to contrast or to blend with. So I'm going to be starting with Bugman's Glow. I decided to make him a Caucasian, pale, that way his expression of horror and the colors of his disemboweled guts and everything is going to show off a little bit better. I think plus too, the miniature of Uriziel T'Rakkon is going to be mostly that pale, weathered, just parchment skin and a dark armor, black, they highlight up to green. So I wanted something that's gonna kind of pop out from that. So we're gonna go with a very healthy Caucasian pinkish skin to start, and then we're gonna highlight up to a pale skin tone with the various colors. So now we're gonna start on with the armor, and we're going to use Castellan Green. This is the perfect color for any Cadian Shock Trooper flak armor. In this case here, this Imperial Guardsman armor, we're going to paint all of the vest as well as the shoulder pads. You're going to notice on the shoulders, connecting the front and the back of this armor, there are some like ribbed looking straps. That's going to be painted in Corvus black in just a minute. But for most of it, it's very simple, easy to pick out where the armor is. And luckily too, this guy doesn't have a left arm, so that's one less thing to paint. One less shoulder pad, one less arm, one less hand. As for the skin color, you're going to be painting that Bugman's Glow on his face as well as his right hand. It's kind of open, and you're going to have all the fingers in the palm there. And here we go, just painting the armor. It's interesting, there's just enough variation from this armor to not be an identical to the like Cadian Shock Trooper flak armor. There's a little bit of a piping thing going on at the bottom of the torso armor, and on the back there's a interesting looking extra piece of padding right at the center under his neck. So it's a interesting design. Now I'm working with Steel Legion Drab. This is great for any kind of khakis uniform for your Cadian Shock Troopers. It actually is closer to the old Cadian Shock Troopers, the out-of-print ones, the big chunky boys that Games Workshop has replaced and updated. The new Cadian Shock Troopers, I've noticed, seem to be a little bit closer to a bone color with the khakis, whereas the old Cadian Shock Troopers look much more like brown, like the uniform was a darker Steel Legion brown color. And you always want to thin your paint. I've got my wet palette beside me. And if you don't have your own wet palette, just use a container with a little bit of water at the bottom and a paper towel on top. That's my solution to going out and spending money on a full-on wet palette, is just have some like wet paper towel with some water at the bottom to dilute the paint, make it so it doesn't go on as thick as if it were right out of the pot. I'm using Corvus black now. It is a terrific paint that's just like one step lighter than Abaddon black. It's interesting that they decided to do a second black color, Games Workshop, because I'm a big proponent of going to a hobby and craft store and just buying like a $3 tub of acrylic black paint. Like, I'm not into spending the amount of money on a pot of Abaddon black paint that I would also spend on like a better color like Thunderhawk blue, or a color that you need elsewhere on your miniatures, like any of these other colors I'm using for the armor or the khakis. I'd much rather have another pot of Steel Legion drab or Castellan green. So get a tub of black paint from your hobby store, from Walmart, from anywhere that has an arts and crafts section, and you'll save a bunch of money. You'll have way more product that you can use on your painting, and that's one less thing to worry about. But like I was saying, Corvus Black seems to be one step up from straight Abaddon Black, and there's a little bit of gray in there. I wouldn't say it's very close to Mechanicus Standard Gray, but it's like, if Mechanicus Standard Gray is on one end of the scale and Abaddon Black is on the complete opposite end of the scale, Corvus Black is just inching up from Abaddon Black towards Mechanicus Standard Gray, if that makes any sense at all. And that's what I used on the little bit of under armor under his neck, as well as the straps connecting the front and the back of his uniform. Now I'm using this Cadian flesh tone, watering it down and using it to pick out like the brow line, the nose, the chin, and the fingers, just basically highlighting up from that Bugman's Glow. At this point, I don't think I've showed the pot, but I'm using Wraithbone, which is a very bright bone color. My goal was to just pick out the teeth, but it seems like I got most of it into the mouth, which is what I didn't want. So just to bring it back down to a color that's more going to be what the finished model is going to look like, I just put a little bit of Cadian flesh tone back onto the tip of my brush and tried to get in there around the teeth, because you just want the teeth to be this wraithbone color. Yep. And like I said, this is a resin miniature. This is high quality resin. You could see how like beautifully crafted it is. RTLW just does some amazing work, especially with their Drukhari or their, I think they're called Voidborn Ancient line. Like, look at the back of Uriziel T'Rakkon's, just the back of his chair thing, that vertebrae structure, the organic looking, naturally grown monster bits compared to the sharpness and the sleekness of the armor pads, the shoulder pads, as well as the chair itself looks like alien and grotesque and weird, with the thrusters off the side and the skull vent at the back, the double-headed skull thing, just amazing. All right, so now I'm gonna attempt to work on the eyes. I'm gonna be talking over it because this is not something that I did very well. You need to get a brush with a sharp point. So I've got as sharp of a point as I can, but because of where I've placed my camera, I am not able to really see where I'm painting. So I do get a little bit of this black paint where it needs to go. But now when I'm gonna be painting within the black paint, I'm gonna use this Pro Acryl Bold Titanium White. And the idea is that you want to paint within the black paints that you put for the eyeballs. You want to paint this within the black. You don't want the white paint to completely cover the black paint. You want that black eyeliner around the white so that you can pick out the details of the eyeballs from a tabletop's distance away. So I've got my brush here. I'm trying to figure out, okay, how can I get into where it needs to go as well as I can. And I seem to do okay there. I like to turn models like on its side like this, hold it horizontally so that I'm doing like a vertical up and down paint stroke for the eyeballs. That seems to work. If you can brace your hands and go with whichever direction brush stroke you're strongest. I tend to find that I'm strongest with up-down paint strokes if that makes sense, vertical paint strokes. So if I need to get into a horizontal line like the eyeball, I'll just flip the model on its side, and that will get me where it needs to go. So now what I'm doing in my haste, because I got so cocky at how well I did the white eyeballs into the black, I decided, I'm just gonna go straight in and I'm gonna pick out these pupils. I'm doing this by taking just a tiny little bit of Corvus black onto the tip of my brush, and I'm doing a vertical slash from the top to the bottom of the eye, that white eye that you just painted. Now, if you don't get all the way from the top to the bottom, because he's in a horrified, like death screams stare, it is okay if you just paint a little bit of that black line connecting the eye to the top of the eyeball. Like, it's okay if you don't connect it all the way to the bottom, because it could be like his eyes have rolled up in the back of his head. But just like the expression is so great. It's such a horrified, like scream look with the mouth open, and then the body's gonna have so much gore effects on it that if you're not able to really line in the black, it's not gonna be the end of the world. You can find creative solutions to work around that. All right, I'm sorry for the little bit of out of focus there. You can kind of see what we're going for here. There are a lot of components to this miniature, Bugman's Glow again, and I want to make sure that I can get as many videos out as possible. Like I mentioned earlier when I did an unboxing or a review after assembly of this miniature, I have not seen any videos of this guy on YouTube. And I think that's a shame, because I love the sculpt. Everything about it, from its weird spider legs to just the figure itself sitting in the throne and his 6 arms. I don't know if you can tell, he's got 6 arms that he's got coming out of his torso, kind of like an insect. Or I guess maybe like a spider, because he's got his 2 legs too sitting in the throne. Sotek green. So I don't know if you've noticed, but the Bugman's Glow is used to paint the intestines that are hanging out. Sotek green, what we're going to be doing is just taking a tiny little dot on the tip of our brush, and we're going to be painting in the bags under the eyes, like this ogre here that I showed for comparison purposes. So you're just going to look at the miniature and say, okay, where did they sculpt that little bag under the eyes? And if you don't find one, if the sculpt doesn't have that, all you have to do is line that Sotek green right under the bottom of the eye. Just do like a little line as thin as you can, and then we're going to clean it up, because it needs to be really tight. And as you can see, I spilled my Sotek green everywhere. So I'm going to take my paintbrush, I'm going to soak up some of that excess paint, and just very carefully work my way up to the eye. Here we go. You may wonder, like, why Sotek green is a weird dark, like turquoisey color, and it's because the color like pops out, because there's nothing like it on the face. If you look at my guy right there, the Doombull brown we're going to use right now is going to be for the bottom lip. If you've got a model that you want to pick out where the bottom lip is, then you just very carefully paint that Doombull brown right to where his bottom lip is. You don't want to paint too much, and you don't want to paint it too thick, or else it's going to come out looking like a line of lipstick. And that's not what we want. We want it to just look like, from tabletop distance away, you could see where his eyes are because of the Sotek green bags under his eyes. And you can see where his lip is to kind of frame his screaming mouth because of where the Doombull brown is. Then hopefully, fingers crossed, the effect is that your opponent across the table is going to be like, what the heck is that? Let me see it. And then he's going to pick it up and say you're the best painter in the world. And you can say, thanks, I watch Warboss Tay on YouTube. All right, this is just an extra project we're doing while I'm working on my summer painting challenge. At this point, I'm just cleaning up like the cuff here. I think I had it painted in his skin tone. Working on smoothing out some of the paint. And what we're going to be doing is getting onto the highlights in just a second. We want these base layers of paints to dry up. Yep. And just because this Imperial Guardsman is having a rough go of it, doesn't mean that the rest of your army, if you collect Imperial Guard or Astra Militarum, has to be as similarly unlucky with war. You could use this color scheme that I'm giving you right now, replicate it with your healthy, alive, and victorious Imperial Guardsmen. And that will be fun. They'll like that. They'll have beautifully painted armor and uniforms. And even if they're not doing this horrifying death scream, they will look good having a little bit of that extra punchiness to their face with the colors, like I mentioned, Sotek Green and Doombull Brown. So now I'm taking that Corvus Black. Like I mentioned before, I'm just painting that strap on the top of the uniform that connects the front piece to the back. You'll be able to see it once we move the miniature and it's a little bit more in frame and in focus. Sorry about the focus, guys. Still trying to work out how to best film what I'm painting here in my current situation. All right, that's great. I'm gonna let it dry for another second and then come back to, what do we got? Looks like I put some more bold titanium white on my brush, and now I'm just picking out the skull on the shoulder pad. The reason we went with white is because with the Games Workshop Cadian Shock Troopers, their shoulder pads either have the Cadian gate on one side or the number of their squad or unit on the other side. And it's always in white because that's the color they have put on the transfers. So I just want to incorporate that into this miniature as if you were a Cadian Shock Trooper just caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. All right, now what we want to do is work on some of the highlights. When you're highlighting the armor, you don't want to do too much because this is like a complementary piece of the puzzle here. We want our eyes, of course, to be drawn to the Uriziel T'Rakkon miniature. There's so much to look at with just that part of the miniature, but we do want any eyes that fall to our Imperial Guardsmen here to be very satisfied with the paint job that they see. So now I'm taking my Castellan Green. I'm just gently tightening it up around the skull. It's a raised design, so I thought I could get all of it and have it look really nicely, but it looks like some of that white has bled onto the shoulder pad flatter area. So I do want to tighten that up, clean it up, move some of that white paint out of there, and just tighten up the impression of the skull on the shoulder pad there. Taking Doombull Brown again. I believe this is just more work on the guts. So because I painted Bugman's Glow as the base color and not a darker color, when this Doombull Brown goes on and it spreads, as it inevitably will, it becomes a little bit more thin and transparent at the tops. That's where you're going to see that Bugman's Glow of the intestines kind of peeking out and giving a good gradation of color for viewers to look at it. We're going to add a little bit more to it, of course. We're going to add some glossy varnish red effects to simulate the color of blood and what have you. But for right now, I think it looks really great on video. And now I'm testing out Xandri Dust as a color for the uniforms. I think it was at this point that I decided, okay, yeah, I'm satisfied with it. Xandri Dust is our standard color for painting the uniforms to the other Cadian Shock Troopers. So using it here as a highlight color off of Steel Legion Drab kind of evokes that newer aesthetic with the colors, but also gives a nice highlight to the Steel Legion Drab. If you are more of an old school Astra Militarum Imperial Guard player, then you'll recognize the colors a little bit more easily and naturally. I really do absolutely love this miniature from RTLW, and I would suggest that you go over and check out what other great looking miniatures they have on sale. If you're not a Drukhari player, if you play Orcs, Chaos, Imperium, Sisters of Battle, they've got some amazing sculpts and it's just some great things to look at. They're constantly coming out with new designs and new miniatures all the time. So check out the newest, check out the sale section. They always have a sale section that you can pick up some great models for cheap. And full disclosure, I am an affiliate of RTLW Miniatures. So if you do decide to purchase something, that will earn my studio a small commission. So I thank you for that. And wrapping up now, we're getting to the home stretch. So we're going to start with some Death World Forest. It's a nice lighter green color we can use as a highlight for the armor. And we're basically just following the lines. This is the easiest highlight you could do, because if you make a mistake and any of this looks too chunky, all you have to do is dip your brush back into Castellan green, find the central part of whatever armor piece you're working on, like the center of the plate, and paint your Castellan green outwards toward the line. That's going to clean it up, make it look like your line work is a lot sharper than it necessarily might be, and it create a much cleaner effect to the finished armor piece. Yeah, I'm excited to paint the rest of them. I found like no videos, no content for him on YouTube. So Uriziel T'Rakkon, this is hoping you get more customers that are going to take you home, build you up in both your configurations, this spooky chair one as well as the floaty one. I just absolutely love this sculpt. Love everything he's doing. So just doing short strokes here, doing a bit of line work. Now you just want to do enough so that your eye catches the impression of the armor and the plates from across the tabletop. You don't want to spend so much time with it because we're already almost at 20 minutes and we're just looking at this one piece of this model. The whole model itself, like when you look at that gun on its other arm, the T'Rakkon figure himself inside the throne itself, this giant weird vertebrae back muscular mass thing. There's so much to paint on this model. It's just such a beautiful collection of different things, like the little spider legs at the bottom, so gross and creepy. And his chair has like a face, right, of the throne, whatever is whatever they grew in a vat to push the throne on its robot legs. Just so gross, so amazing. Like you can see up its butt right there. Ugh. And after letting it dry, going back and cleaning up the line work a little bit more, you can see here the Imperial Guardsman. So thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave me a like and a button. Oh, look at that butt. Look at that butt. There's one thing that I didn't do, and it was this green stuff world. I'm going to add some fresh blood effects as soon as I do the basing. But hey, that's going to be in the next video. Thanks again for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Click the link below, and we'll see you in the next one.